call the roll.
Mrs. Kramer?
Here.
Mrs. Lane?
Here.
Mrs. Rich?
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher?
Here.
Mr. Kraftcheck?
Here.
Mr. Parzak?
Here.
The meeting is now open. Adequate notice of the meeting was provided by posting a copy of the time and place on the municipal clerk's bulletin board and mailing a copy of same to the press and the Cape May County Herald on January 4th, 2018. Will everyone please rise to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to start today's work session with A&F.
All right, and I will refer to our administrator.
Okay, we'll start with the engineer's report.
Okay, thank you. On the capital project front, we had a pre-construction meeting on June 26th for the 95th Street bathroom renovation project, and we continue to facilitate that project into fall construction. That was probably one of my more enjoyable pre-construction meetings I've ever had. The NJDEP permitting for the 94th Street and 114th Street bulkhead replacement was actually filed today, and we are still on target for construction this fall as well. The 82nd Street Tennis Court building is currently out for public bid, and the bid opening is scheduled for July 11th. Again, if we receive a responsible bid that's on budget, that'll be scheduled for full construction as well. Last capital item, our office continues to work on developing the bid documents for the 2018 utility and road program, and once we get farther along with that project, we'll have a better handle on when we can strike a bid schedule, and then we'll bring that before Mayor and Council. In regards to grant opportunities, Jill and I met with the Cape May County Open Space Board regarding the borough's marina site on June 12th. In my opinion, I would say that that was a very good meeting that we had. I think we went like 12 for 13 in terms of proposed improvements that we were bouncing off of them, and they received all of them and said they were eligible and they liked it. The one item we couldn't get was the construction of a new boat ramp, which was one of the options in the analysis that I did to go east-west. They felt that that wouldn't fit their program well, but everything else that we pitched at them, they liked, and they encouraged us to file for the December application deadline of this year. So that was really good news, and I guess the ball will be in the borough's court when the time comes to decide whether to file that or not.
Yeah. The issue with the boat ramp was primarily because we already had one in existence, and just moving it, they didn't feel met the qualifications.
We tried to say that the new boat ramp would have extra features to it and stand-up paddleboard things, and, you know, we went 12 for 13, so we were happy with that.
Tried.
A good record.
Yeah. And I guess lastly, I just wanted to wish everybody a safe and happy 4th of July. God bless America.
Okay, next we have the tax collector's report.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So we're waiting for our certified tax rate, hoping that's going to be any day. Once we get our tax rate, we can get the bills out. Last year, the bills went out on July 21st, and we had to extend grace period because the state shut down. I don't know if you all remember that. We don't anticipate that happening this year, and I don't anticipate having to extend a grace period either, but I hope I didn't just jinx myself. Once I do get the tax rate, I can work on our 59 appeals. I'll be sending out tax sale notices. The tax sale this year will be September 12th. That's a Wednesday. See, we're collecting the meter readings. We're doing utility billing, and we had our shutoffs on June 19th, and we did not have to shut anybody off for non-payment. That was real good news.
That is good.
So July and August is really busy in the tax office. It's my favorite time of the year, actually, and I don't mean that sarcastically at all. Does anyone have questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you, Deb.
Okay, the tax assessor has a couple of reports that she had to get done, so she had asked to be excused today. She will, at our next meeting, give us a summary of all the actual tax appeals and the dollar amounts, how that affected us. Construction and zoning?
Happy 4th of July to everybody.
Same to
The,
you, Ray.
Thank you. Permits this month, Mike's not here today, but we issued one less permit, but for new construction, we have 5 for new buildings and only 1 in the same period last year for the month of June. I think that may have to do with the new ordinance for pile drivings and demolitions. We may see the numbers down for the next 2 months because they can't drive pilings, but there were 4, last year there was only 1 new building in June, and this year we've had 5. So that's up. Of course, the fees were up as well to go along with that, but we'll see what the next 2 months hold with the ordinance the way it is. So that's construction. Spoke to Pete Minor this week from the Yacht Club. He expects those plans in real soon. They're almost done with the design for the Yacht Club for the construction office, so we would be reviewing that shortly here. Regatta Bay plans have been back and forth with correspondence between us and the design professionals, and I think they are ready to go. They want to go real soon, but most of the business owners within that building are asking that it does not happen in the summer, but I know the contractor does want to get going. So we'll see how that goes. And he had requested to do similar to what the Reeds had done with a scaffolding set over the sidewalk if he has to, and the business owners are hoping that doesn't happen, that he waits till September, but
Which one is Regatta?
Regatta Bay is the diagonal from the Catholic Church on 98th to 99th on the bay side, where Nemo's Pizza is, and there's
Oh, I never knew what it was called.
okay. That's that
Oh.
building there. There's 7 stores, 6 stores downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's going to be a single-family unit above those, which has been, it's been going back and forth for 2 years, but before I was here. But the plans have been in, the resolutions are approved, and so that one's should be coming up pretty soon. We've actually, I think we're at a point where the plans will be approved. I was holding it up for some sprinkler issues and water.
And how many residential units are going up
One.
there? Just one?
One on the whole building, yes, it's a
Just
lot.
one on the whole building, not one above each individual store?
Correct,
Okay.
yes, one single-family unit.
But then there's a separate building around the corner that has another residential unit above it.
That-
It's a separate unit, correct?
It is now, but it's not going to be. When that is done, when this project is done, they're all going to be one structure. That is being tied together
Connected.
to the existing building.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be one large structure, which will have, then it'll have 2 residential units upstairs with 7 commercial down at the final, when the project is done. So, but if he does get going, and, we're in the summer, it's just more, we would like to see it happen in September or October as well, but, yeah.
Don't know how that's.
Okay, what else do we have? That's about it for right now. Mr. Massing from the Reeds is gonna be in here, I guess, during your regular meeting with a request. And Mike Kuchenberg and I and the construction office would like to just say that we would like to see his request be approved from our construction office standpoint, that it would be a greatly benefit, we think, for what they're trying to do there with pouring concrete. But I understand he will be into your regular meeting too.
What's he doing? He's coming to public comment?
No, he's at the, Sue put him on at the end of the meeting, right?
Oh, okay,
Put a motion on the end.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, but the construction office is definitely in favor of what he's proposing. I just wanted to make that official. Does anybody have any questions?
Does the yacht club have to go before the zoning board again?
They already have.
I know they already have, but with the new plans they're coming forth with, yeah, I guess you don't know yet, do you?
No, the plan should conform to the resolution that was approved.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I will determine as a zoning officer. When I look at it, I will have the resolution open and make sure. And if it doesn't, then yes, they will have to go back. But we expect it to be per the resolution that was adopted.
Yes? Thank you, Ray.
Very much.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay, CFO, do you have anything? He just got back from vacation. Borough Clerk?
In their construction office,
Total fees taken in for the month, $45,869. And in the clerk's office, total fees taken in, $37,777.95. I wanted everyone to know I have 2 boat slips still available, if anybody knows anybody that's interested.
Okay. Before we get to the planning board, oh, sorry, you done?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to go over, highlight, I gave each of you a cheat sheet of some of the changes that we did to some of the ordinances that we will be introducing, so I just wanted to go over them, make sure nobody had any issues with them. On the bulkhead ordinance, Ray and I had discussed this in terms of the amount of workload that his office would have to do. He was concerned that the original $100 proposed as a permit fee really didn't cover that. So we're recommending that we change that to $250 opposed to the $100. The original documents you had the $100 in it. And the single-use plastic bag ordinance, we had today, the chamber had reached out with concerns from some of its members with the date that we had, that they needed to be in compliance with the ordinance. They were concerned that they wouldn't have enough time to find all of the materials that they would have to switch out. So a suggestion that I made was that we can amend it so that they have to be in full compliance within a year from the date of the actual adoption of the ordinance, which, if everything, we follow the process, we should be adopting it the first meeting in August. So then next August, they would have to be in compliance. I did let the chamber know that we will be having some meetings, and we'll do that in September, since this is their busy time. They're concerned they just really don't have time to research. So we can meet with them in September, go over the ordinance in detail, give them options for vendors and different products. That gives us enough time to gather information. I know that Lenore's already gathered a lot of information, but we'll continue to do that. My goal is to reach out to some of the communities throughout the country that already have these types of ordinances in place and get some information from them. So the ordinance, right now, I have it to change it so that it would say 1 year from the date of the adoption. So that's something that you guys have to decide whether you want to keep that or go back to the original. Then the lock rating ordinance, originally we had that up for introduction, but the planning board solicitor made some changes to it. And there's a lot of different changes in there, so we felt it prudent to discuss it here first and then send it to the planning board, because the planning board really hasn't had an opportunity to look at any of it. So we would pull it, have discussion here now in the workshop. Planning board will discuss it Monday night, and then the goal is to bring this back at our second meeting of this month. So with that, if we want to discuss the grading ordinance, I've asked Mark and Ray to be prepared to talk about it. So this basically was brought forward due to a lot of concerns that Ray had when he was going out and reviewing plans and looking at some of the properties. So, you want to come up?
What I was seeing out on the site is, and we had one resolution where it was actually required for the contractor to give us a grading plan. And when he did, the engineer at the time was Remington Varnick, did the review, and they were not happy with. And so it went back and forth between the design professional. And then another site that I went to, they had raised the grade 24 inches. It was a 4 6-by railroad ties high. And I had called Mark Caravan's office to discuss it, that we don't have a grading ordinance. Can I regulate this from the zoning office when someone just comes and raises the grade? And we determined that without having an ordinance, there was not much strength that we had to stand on. So we had asked the planning board to adopt a grading ordinance of some sort, and that's what led to the grading ordinance. I believe you all have a copy of that here today, or
They have it, yeah.
Yeah, we all have a copy.
yes. So, because right now, there's nothing on the books for us to go by.
Ray, this is what Andrew Catanese has sent forward, and he believes that these are, the changes should be made and sent to the planning board?
Yes.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, yes.
So I think what happened is Paul Cates prepared it, then it went to Andrew, or was it the other way around?
Yes, Paul Cates prepared
Okay,
it
then
from
it
an
went to
engineering
Andrew.
standpoint.
Okay.
And Andrew.
Then it went
looked
to
at it as a
Andrew,
solicitor,
and then it
yes,
has not
as a
actually
board
been,
solicitor.
I don't think it's made it to planning board yet at all, has it? I
No,
can't,
it'll-
not at all?
It was like a really rough draft that he gave us.
Right.
Like towards the end of a meeting, so we never really had an opportunity to discuss it as a board.
Okay.
Mark did review it and made some suggestions also. We discussed it in our flood mitigation committee.
Right.
And tweaked it. Now the next step is to take it back to the planning board. I don't know if anyone has any
And w-
questions or concerns with it in its present form.
I'm sure we're going to discuss it at length on Monday.
Yeah.
You know, after my initial review of it, the only concern I had is, and Ray just made reference to it, apparently there was a site that just did this with, it allows for retaining wall to be
3 foot, right.
built out of treated material. And I think, you know,
That's not going to last.
it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time, and, you know, given what is being spent on most projects and all other facets of the project, it seems to me to be a little insufficient. And, you know, that project in particular, I look at it, it's a house that's for sale
Yep.
for almost $5 million, and you have a retaining wall made out of railroad ties. It's actually, it's inconceivable to me
Mhm.
to see that. Well, and better, and just
Well, then-
better, not even from an aesthetic standpoint, just from
Then we should el-
actual
yeah.
retaining what you're trying to retain.
We should eliminate the use of railroad ties.
So that was my initial concern, is that,
Yeah.
and when you brought that up, I said, you know, that's a matter of time. It's not, and you're not retaining 6 inches, in that case, it was what, 20?
That one's 24 inches, and the way the ordinance is read, it says 1/3 of the distance from the foundation wall to the face of the bulkhead. And so if our setbacks are 10 feet, that means it could be 3 1/3 feet tall per,
Right,
and so that would, yeah,
at maximum,
so that would be 30,
right, so you could
40
conceive,
inches, 40.
yeah.
That wouldn't change whether it was wood or concrete.
No, that wouldn't change, but it's
No.
how, in my mind, that's a neighbor dispute waiting to happen.
Right.
I mean, those railroad ties
They'll break down.
there's no footing under there, I would presume.
There are, that particular one did have, what they would call it, like the dead man you have on a bulkhead.
Okay,
That one does have those, and they
Okay.
showed me where, although they had finished it before I had a chance to go back, I could see where the railroad tie, there was one going back to the structure from looking at the end of the wall, you could see. But it hadn't been inspected by any engineering or anything
Well,
during construction process.
in my mind, and that certainly helps if that was done, in my mind, again, it's still a matter of time. You have plantings up against that, you have dirt mulch, you have daily irrigation, and that's a decay waiting to happen, even though it's treated. So that was my one major concern. Otherwise, it looked pretty comprehensive, and
So we're basically looking at D as in dog on his sheet to take out the heavy pressure
well, again, it's up for
treated
discussion.
timber.
I think the planning board will also, this was just something I
Nix
wanted to
it.
bring forward now.
Because that is,
and some of the things that we wanted to see happen in the master plan, and I'd love to see an ordinance come through sooner rather than later, is the use of more pervious materials around pools and everywhere on the property, driveways and everything. Cost can't be that prohibitive, and it would solve a lot of problems.
It's not, I don't think it's cost prohibitive at all. I mean, in my experience, things that allow for more drainage, permeability. Slightly more expensive, but you have turf as an option now, which is being used, I think, more and more frequently because it softens the environment. I think really what it comes down to for homeowners, from a homeowners and a design professional standpoint, is use of materials. So, you know, there's a real strong, I think, affinity for travertine and pavers that don't absorb and retain heat. And, you know, that natural stone doesn't offer the benefit that you're talking about. So I think the pushback would be from homeowners and design professionals that say, hey, you know, we want to design something around the pool here that's not hot. And, you know, whether or not there's something that's permeable or semi-permeable that offers that, you know.
There's a company I talked to, and they sent me a lot of material.
I can't hear you.
In there, the city of Atlanta is doing all of their streets with permeable material.
There was, one of them, didn't we have the discussion, something with Wally Bishop, and he said one of the problems is when you have places like Atlanta, they have a different climate, that some of this stuff does not do as well in some different challenges that a different climate doesn't face.
I'd like to see that
If you
in
remember, we
writing.
used to have heat pumps here.
I'm sorry?
We used to have heat pumps here years ago, and they brought them up from the south, and they didn't work here. It's too cold. So the same thing is probably effective with some of the materials. Not all of them, but some of them.
What do you have to say about it, Mr. Engineer?
Well, I was grabbing Jill's eyes, just as a side note here, which you may want to consider, maybe this is an overanalyzation. We require the people to notice property owners when they replace their bulkheads. Maybe you want to consider a threshold of raising a grade or having a significant grading impact on a property to notice the property owners, their neighbors, just so you're over-communicating to people. I don't know if I'm overthinking that. That just came to me here as I was skimming through Andrew's changes, that
I think that's a
it's
good
another
idea.
mechanism of letting people know what's going on before they come into Ray's office and scream, why did this guy put a retaining wall?
Yeah, yeah.
Just food for thought.
Adjoining lots or something like that, yeah.
Right, I mean, we're requiring it for bulkhead construction.
Can't hurt.
And they can never say they didn't know.
Right.
Well, this was just the first shot,
Right.
a draft
Yes.
from Paul.
Yes.
So, and it was really done to assist Ray in enforcing things, giving him something to enforce.
Right.
Instead of, so, I think Andrew's comments were good. I think there's other things that can be added to it. Like Karen said, that there's things we're looking at implementing in the long term. So if we take another month to look at this, maybe we can put some of those things in there instead of waiting for the master plan to come out
Right.
and
I would
get
agree
ahead
with
of
that.
it,
Oh, sure.
you know?
Yeah,
I
but
agree.
we thought we were going to be introducing it even. That's how much we kind of
Right.
want to get something there.
Right.
But we'll just go one, it's basically, I think, Monday night,
Monday at 4:30.
Well, it could be 2 weeks then.
and then it's a matter of 2 weeks, right?
There is the zoning meeting right
After
after the
that, at
planning
6
board on
p.m.
Monday night.
Right.
There are 3 of them, and July is one of the months that happens, so we'll be limited in our time Monday
So
night.
we only have an hour and a
Okay.
half to just get it right.
So we'll have to talk
It's a
fast.
chatty group.
Oh, I don't think we've had a planning board that went under an hour and a half now.
No,
No.
no.
The only other thing on our planning board that I wanted to bring up, and we'll be discussing this Monday as well, is change to the ordinance, and I may have mentioned this previously as an update. Again, sometimes all this gets jumbled up in your head, but the front stair setback, since we're going up, there's 2 components to this. Since we're going up to a higher top of block elevation, first floor elevation, to get down is obviously going to be more, you're going to need more room to get down from elevation 11 than you would 9, so there clearly needs to be some relief in our front stair setback, which is at 10 now. The planning board discussed this previously, and there was some talk about going to 5. Jerry Blackman from OSK Design Partners also was before the board, And he said not only for, there's been discussion at the master plan committee level as well, that a lot of our homes are starting to look boxy, uniform, lack of dimension. This will also afford for more design opportunity as well, as allowing for safe traveling from grade into your first floor. Because what will happen is builders will end up taking it to the maximum rise and minimum run on those stairs. So now you're gonna have real tight stairs going up to that elevation. We should be allowing for people to use a full 12-inch stair tread and getting down to grade. And that'll only come into play, really, that setback where, you know, you have to utilize it because you're going up so high. So that will be discussed, and I think we'll be bringing something forward.
On Monday. Any discussion on that?
Well,
That you want to go forward?
my only thoughts on that are, because I think there was some mention of side setbacks too. And I understand the front setback. I don't know whether it's 5 feet, but I understand relaxing it to some point. I don't, I'd be very leery of any encroachment on side setbacks
I don't-
that we have right now.
Yeah, I agree.
You
I
know,
don't
so
think
if that's not in there.
I don't think that was on the table, though. Was it?
It was mentioned.
Okay.
Somebody brought it up. and
Okay.
What is it now on the side?
It's,
Five. Well, it's 10 for the
Well-
building, but you have up to 5.
when the
for, like,
landing
a
is
side
less
entry with the
than,
landing.
Okay,
the landing cannot exceed 5 by 5. You're allowed to encroach 5 foot into that side yard setback, but then your landing has to be 5 by 5 maximum. So that could still be, that doesn't have to change in the side
I
yard.
agree. I don't think there
yeah,
is
that's
need
what I
for
was
any
saying.
relief.
Okay, right, so
But
that,
the
okay,
same,
that
it's
can
the
be in
same for front yards right now, too. Your steps are allowed to come in to the 10 foot as long as the landing doesn't exceed 5 by 5. So that eliminates large porches on the front of your house, which people love.
Right.
So
And that was
that's,
Jerry, Mr. Blackman's point
Yeah.
as well.
so basically it's the same ordinance. You're allowed to encroach, but then your landing is only allowed a certain dimension currently.
seeing a lot of elevators go in to start to accommodate for all these steps.
Yeah, they were, I think, more commonplace in Avalon because of the 3 stories. But I think because we're heading higher, it makes more sense to do them as well in Stone Harbor now. And of course, people are living longer, so. I think you're gonna see
What else?
more and more.
Are we going to discuss the chamber, the comments from the chamber for that ordinance beforehand, or?
Yeah, right now,
We can
are
talk it
anything
right now.
further on the lot grading?
Oh.
Thought we were done.
No?
I think we're okay.
So we'll go with
the
that.
yeah,
That'll go
move
Monday.
on to, yeah. So we can go back
And
to
what was your-
the ordinance for the bags.
Everybody's fine with the bulkhead ordinance, the second one on your list?
I-
Right? Any more to change that fee?
They're good.
That sounds
No.
reasonable.
Okay. Then the single-use plastic ordinance.
Well, it just, you know, the bulkhead, we're going to rely heavily on the borough engineer for enforcement of this, for inspections and approving the permits and the plans and whatnot. And I think there's a waiver in there of $5,000 if they're making a repair to the bulkhead, which I guess at that point, we would term that a minor repair, that then with the approval of the borough engineer, we can waive, what are we waiving again? The permit? Is that what we're waiving in that clause?
We're waiving the permit, we're waiving the escrow fee, we're waiving the inspections, all things that go with that.
Okay, but they'll still need plans? What I'm getting at is if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I have some rotted wood here in this bulkhead that's 15 years old, I want to put doublers over them to extend the life 5 years, or something to that effect.
I guess they
So-
could produce like a bill or a quote from a contractor that says it's $3,500.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that, see if it was reasonable, except it's minor, you don't need a permit,
Okay.
you know. It wouldn't relieve them of any theoretical
Okay, all right.
Okay. Plastic bag ordinance. Does anybody have any issue with changing that date?
I don't have an issue. I just think that we were trying to keep this moving along so that 2019, the date of January 1st was when the merchants and the people in the community that need to be ready for the summer of 2019 would all be in compliance with it, because I thought it was pretty important. I don't think it's as hard as everybody says to find the products, and usually when people are done in September, I don't think they start to do their buying until September, October, maybe even January, some of them, depending if they're seasonal.
Well, the Thursday after the last council meeting, Jill and I met with the Chamber Board of Directors to say this is the plan and so on and so forth. And 2 merchants in the room have already ordered for next year. And we did advise them of the hardship that they could apply for, and it was Tom Markle and Dave Hoy. And that there is a hardship provision within the ordinance that says, one of them stated that he ordered 5,000 bags already for next year.
Yeah, people do that.
So we were saying there is somewhere within that ordinance for a hardship for somebody who's already ordered. So in addition to that, what's going on is they're getting a little nervous in the chamber because they feel there's no time to discuss or learn anything because it's their prime season. So right now, they would like to be a little more interactive with us on this, and meanwhile, they're just unavailable simply because of the nature of the season. This is their busy time. So we figured if we push it till September and can meet and get more information for them and help them and get their cooperation, because we want everybody to get behind it, and that's going to be the way that we're going to get the most, get the most success. Then you head right into the holidays, and you're looking at some, Coffee Talk was one where I got a call from Madeline, and she said she uses a lot of high volume, and she's been talking to her distributor. He doesn't really have alternatives for her right now. He said, we have to talk, but they're getting nervous about the implications this could have. And it's not that they do not want to comply and that they are not supportive, they're just asking if we could give it a little bit more time. And they could theoretically come into compliance earlier even. Nothing says you got to wait till then, but it'll allay some of the fears and some of the anxiety that they're having right now in prime season as they're focused on the summer. They know this is happening too, and there's just some anxiety where I feel if we work with them more, get some more input, get some more Go Green input, get some more education out there, then we'd be more successful in the long run.
Well, I think Go Green has said everything. You got the list of what Go Green recommended. I truly believe that by doing this now, we're giving them September through December and even January, February, March to comply, because the town is closed down in the winter. They have more than sufficient.
But they're ordering for next summer.
And we have a mechanism in there to give them a hardship relief. So I don't know why the onus comes back to us on this, that we have to change the date, because that just makes it too easy not to comply.
I think anytime anybody wants to engage in more formal discussions and become part of the process, I think we have to honor that request. I mean, and they're not coming at us, as Mayor Judy said, they're not coming at us with any sort of resistance or, I think it's, anxiety is the right word. It's digesting what is being thrust upon them rather rapidly. I mean, this really came about and is going into ordinance form pretty quickly by, our standards. So I would really hate to say, no, let's move forward without further discussion from you. I think it's entirely conceivable that we discuss this in the fall with them and still pass it after everyone feels comfortable with still January 1st compliance.
Or theoretically, we can introduce on
Right.
schedule. The only thing we're asking is push the compliance date, not the ordinance and even the language of the ordinance. That would be the only change, is when they have to come into compliance.
And I agree with Charles and Judy. I think we owe it to the businesses. I'd like to help the businesses comply rather than be a strong-arm enforcer. We need a good working relationship with the businesses, and as Charles said, they're not asking for the end of the world. They're just asking, this is their prime time. They don't have time to sit down with a vendor that is trying to give them an alternative to the plastic. And some of them, like Hoy's, have their names on their, I don't know how many bags they order, 5,000 bags? They already have their names on them.
I mean, we have to remember too, I was at that meeting as well with Jill and Judy, and, I mean, there's general consensus, and it's flat out true. It's getting harder and harder to do business here. You have Amazon, you have everything's point and click, and it's at your doorstep. Retail's becoming more difficult. I feel for a lot of the merchants here who struggle. It's not the same as it used to be 20 years ago, that's for sure. So anytime someone wants to engage in fruitful discussion, I think we should.
I don't, I see everybody's point of view, but if we extend this to a year from August, that's not only now this summer, that's all of next summer.
Right, that's what I was saying too.
So we've given them 2 more seasons of plastic.
Right.
And we're not implementing this right now. We're implementing it 1 January 2019.
Right.
It's not right now.
Right.
They've got 5, 6, 7, 8 months to figure it out.
Well, and I hear you, and I would say if it was not being discussed on July 3rd, I mean, these people are in the middle of their busiest season, and they simply don't even have the time to give us input. So then the season ends, and then they go right into the holiday season. So maybe back off a couple of months to June 1st, and you don't get the second summer. But I just, and just to be clear, nobody said to me, can you extend it and we don't be compliant for another year? Nobody said that. This is just more of a discussion to say, can we do something different to accommodate them rather than not introduce? Because as we still go along with introducing, and we're, that part would happen, but just give them a little bit more time than January 1. And I think because of, I don't want to just keep saying the same thing over and over. I think it's just timing. If we gave them 6 months in January, it's different than giving them 6 months on July 3rd.
If you recall, at the last meeting, I said, why don't we make it Memorial Day? And everybody said, no, let's make it January 1st. So if you make it Memorial Day, and then they still have time, nobody's cutting off their discussion, no one's saying they can't have input. There's nothing saying we can't adjust or tweak this if need be. But Lenore Tedesco had a bag full of all types of items for restaurant supplies, bags, retail bags. She has a number of websites, and there's more out there.
And with
So
all due
research-
respect, though, what's the cost of them and how does it affect the small businessman?
She
So
said-
everybody's got like a different way when they're looking at it and
She
maneuvering.
compared the costs, and they were very similar.
And that's true, I can tell you that.
Very similar.
And I think that what is happening is a little bit of the salesman that they have is of the old school, and they have a lot of product to sell, and he's not going to give that person, the person or the companies that have been making this stuff for years, their business, his business. They've got to date themselves, they've got to get their act together.
So then, and understood, 100% agree with you, understood. But I think that the business person needs to find that out on their own and not us assuring them it'll be okay.
Well, unfortunately, I guess, maybe I've talked to 2 or 3 merchants that have asked me what was going on, and they are excited about it, and they've said, and a couple of big ones, I'm not going to name names, that they're already getting ready for it, they've been thinking about it, they have an idea with straws, they're not even going to offer straws, and I've had the opposite effect. And Charles, I respect you completely, I know what it's like to have a business in town, I did it, I'd never do it again. It's a short season here, but the whole world has changed. This is just not Stone Harbor that's changed to Amazon and ordering things.
Right.
Retailing is tough no matter where it is.
However, here you got 8 weeks.
I
You
know.
got 8 weeks to
Judy.
9. We're trying to get bigger. The season is so tight,
But
and it's
you're-
getting smaller.
You're preaching to the choir. Been there, done that.
Well, the compromise is, is Karen's suggestion, and we go Memorial.
Go to Memorial Day.
That gives
I
them
think that's
5 more months
reasonable.
to figure it
Yeah.
out.
Don't give them another summer. There has to be a way. We don't have to kill that much more in our wildlife and destroy our ocean. Let's not take it another summer.
I agree with that.
I think it's a compromise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
feel
spoke with
like
only
we-
2 merchants, one restaurant owner and one merchant, and both of them said the same thing. They saw it coming. So with that in mind, I would have hoped that perhaps large quantities weren't bought because of the possibility of our change.
That's, and actually, in speaking, it was more of a matter of, it's not the plastic bag, and it's not the straw, it's all the other things, too, that's going to have a bigger impact on a restaurant versus a retail store that buys a plastic bag. There's a huge difference between a small retail store changing to a plastic bag and somebody changing every lid, cup, stirrer, utensil. There's a lot more of an impact there. So, and I'm hearing the same thing as you, and most people are in support of it. They're simply saying, give us some time to figure it out, just a little more time. And that's really the extent of it. Nobody's saying, I don't want to do
Memorial Day is
this.
a good compromise, I think.
Even Wawa said they're preparing for it. I mean, they're aware of this and they're preparing.
But they're all big businesses.
Right.
It's
Well,
a
that's
small
big,
business,
right.
excuse me, the small business in Stone Harbor that are trying to put out ice cream cones or trying to put out coffee or anything else. There's a very, very short season for those people. It's not the huge ones that can afford all that. These people are
And-
working on a tight, tight budget.
And a few more months truthfully gives internally our department more opportunity to research it and help them. Because that, I mean, that's our goal. We want to be able to help guide them, encourage them through the process. So a couple more months, I think, would be helpful.
And there is some concern among council members who are talking about how does it, how will it affect us if the state passes?
Right. And
What the state is planning on passing.
Right.
Now, I'm not real familiar with what the state's plan is, but I've not seen, the way that I see it, it's addressing large stores like over 2,000 square feet. I'm not seeing in the language that it's addressing small stores, that it seems to be more geared towards like ShopRites and Acmes and
I think
things.
if you have 2,000 square feet. So you may have some stores, not many, maybe one or two.
I'm trying to think what we would have.
Grandfathered in those communities and municipalities that already have it.
Well, that's what I asked the solicitor, if he could
if-
tell us whether or not that's indeed true, because I hear it, but when I read
was
it,
in the
it doesn't.
newspaper.
Well,
I mean, it was printed as part of what they were going to pass.
yeah, which they haven't passed it yet.
No, they haven't.
But they did say, that some of the language that I saw said that you would have had to have it adopted already. So this question, at this point, you don't know. That's one of my concerns. I'd like to try to get it in there, and hopefully we get ours enacted before they do, because they could change it also and add other things to the ordinance. Right now, theirs is just addressing the bags and
Right.
charging a fee, which we really don't want to do that. To me, that's more
we don't wanna
of a
do a fee.
burden on the businesses having to worry about charging
The
a fee.
fees aren't going to work. Fees
No.
won't work.
No,
They don't
I agree.
work.
I
So it-
totally
it's-
agree.
yeah, even in what the
state's-
governor's proposing is
Yeah.
that one of the things that these stores can do is they can bury the price of the bags in the cost
Easy.
of their
Right,
goods.
exactly.
Means the guy paying at the cash register,
Yeah.
nothing's changed for him.
Right.
It's just
Right.
a way
Bill
for
went up
them
a
to
couple
balance
cents,
their
Yeah.
and
budget.
it doesn't,
So,
what
yeah,
they're
so
trying to
to
do.
me, yeah.
so,
it's-
so we should do this now and
Mm-hmm.
put Memorial Day on it.
And then we can
or
make it
an
Memorial Day.
effective date, and that way it's on the books.
It's the same
Okay.
thing.
Well, it's 2 days
So as of,
different.
okay.
Well, it is.
Clean date, June 1st.
June 1st, okay.
Okay. Do you have anything more,
That's
Jill,
everything.
from your list?
That's it under A and F?
Planning Board. It seems like it was so long ago, but I guess it wasn't. There was an approval made for the Surfside Casual, what's the, I think it's called Surfside Casual, Himmelstein at 93rd and 3rd, where you have what's the old PNC Bank. They came before the Planning Board for site review at the last meeting, and they did make some changes, what was originally proposed. We did ask them to make some changes. It was approved, and what you're going to see there is they got the site plan approval to construct a 1,558 square foot addition to that building there.
Up or out?
Out.
And,
Both.
yeah, kind of. It was a 4-3 vote on the planning board.
By a narrow margin.
They're going to be coming out closer to the street. I think they're going to be 5 feet off the sidewalk. if not more, maybe even closer. 5 feet. The entryway is going to come up 5 feet from the sidewalk.
That's pretty much right.
Are they,
And then the drive-through portion, where you used to be able to drive through back in the PNC Bank, they closed that off a while ago. So they were asking for a variance to have a more narrow driveway. But at least we were able to get to, we did not give the variance for the thinner driveway, because you just envisioned people backing out onto Third Avenue. And I still think you're going to see people backing out, but anyway, it was approved.
Did you say it's going to be 2 stories?
There, do we have it? I don't have a picture of it. It's going to be like a glass front. They're not putting a second floor up, but they're putting some height.
are they closing their Summers Point
No,
store?
No,
No.
no, no.
this is an expansion of their business.
It's going to be, so there, it's a 1,558 square foot addition resulting in 2,874 square foot retail use on that block.
All glass.
Is that the picture? So, just so that doesn't come as a surprise to everyone when it appears. And that was the last planning board, that was the only bit of discussion, was that usually we don't have a second meeting, but we did for that hearing. So that's planning board. Anything more? Anybody wants to see pictures, Charles has them.
Well, the access door is actually is at like a 1-foot setback.
Yeah, that's what I thought, it was very
But
close.
that's it's almost like a half a hexagon area. And then
Yeah,
there's
I think it's,
an 8-foot setback to what you
The
would say
rest. yeah.
is the main structure.
Okay.
It's going to be high because that's all bermed up, that property.
Yeah, it is high up, yes. Yeah.
All glass.
Moving on, are we ready? Everybody, A&F, we done? You have anything more? No.
A&F's good.
Jill, good? Everybody's good?
Good.
Public Works, Joan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Works held their meeting on Friday, the 29th. I'm happy to report, as Mark had said, we had a very successful pre-construction meeting for the 96th Street bathroom renovations. Construction will begin on September 4th and will be finished by the beginning of the 3rd week in November. With reference to recycling, at our next Public Works meeting, we're going to look at putting together a detailed list of recyclable items. There is still confusion in the public as to what is and what is not recyclable, such as the exact meaning of the numbers on the bottom of the bottles. Also, with that composite cardboard, caps on bottles, some people say you can recycle the caps. Grant will tell you whether you can or not. Some don't. Food trays that previously had food on them, are they recyclable or not? So we'd like to put a list together and then put it on our website and ask Chappaqua to do the same, and maybe avoid some of the things that our trash men are picking up, because if you put it in that plastic bag, it just goes to the dump, just like that. So, and Grant, if you'll continue on. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Grant.
Did you read your reports?
Yes.
Yes.
Grant, I want to ask you one thing while we're up there. We had 1,181 citizen contacts during the month of May.
Yes.
That's huge. Calling Public Works.
It rings off the hook at times. We have 2 and 3 phones ringing at one time, like right now today. Are you going to pick up my trash tomorrow? Yes, we are picking up trash tomorrow.
100, almost 1,200. It's amazing.
Any questions on the report?
Nope.
No?
Hanging baskets look great, the urns look great.
Okay, just some highlights. The Beaches and Streets Department are raking every day. They start at 4 a.m. every day. Beach cans and beach trash and recycling is being removed twice a day now for the season. First pickup is at 4 a.m., the second pickup is at 5 p.m. Road closure signs for the flooding issue on 96th Street is, the signs are in, the mounts are in, and we will be trying to put the mounts out after this weekend, or this week is over. It's just too much traffic, especially early in the morning right now, with the amount of people that are in town.
Just back up 1 second, where you're saying with the trash pickups, are you doing that every beach, or are you just doing the major beaches?
We're doing the entire beach.
The entire beach twice, so first thing in the morning and then at the end of the day? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
they did
Well,
that last
definitely
year.
noticed it.
Did that last year.
I thought we only
So-
did the major beaches. I didn't realize it was every can. Okay,
Yeah.
No, we're doing every can,
okay.
44 blocks.
Wow.
Grant,
Good.
when we pick up that trash, we pick up the recycling and then we pick up the trash. What do we do with it then? Does it get mixed together if it's
No.
mixed in a mess, or
No,
what?
well, if the recycling can is mixed, we don't
Then it
sit there and
becomes
pick out all the trash. It goes right into the regular trash.
And it's the
Guys
same,
would be here all night if they had.
I don't disagree with
Yeah.
you. I'm just asking, somebody
And then
asked
that
me that.
material is taken to our yard at 83rd Street.
And then-
81st Street, and then put into two separate packers.
And then the same thing for 96th Street trash, if people aren't putting it
All
in
the
the right
commercial,
containers.
or
if-
all the cans that are out on the street, same thing.
That's it. Oh, that's it, on that.
And then do we get given a score, so to speak, on how well we recycled?
Yes.
What's
Right-
our,
Right now, we're at about 1/3 of our total is recycling. And they are trying to get us to half,
the goal's 50%?
50%.
Right.
They would
50%.
like us
Right.
at 50%.
And,
We're about
and I see, especially during the winter time, the summertime, the problem is that not all states recycle. And then you have people coming into town, they don't understand the rules, they don't understand what we tried to accomplish and what the state tries to accomplish. And we have to deal with that.
I didn't realize everybody didn't recycle for some
No,
reason or
There's
another.
still states out there that do not recycle.
And some I've already heard that if they're on their vacation, they don't want to be bothered.
Okay.
That's happened.
So any education we can give them, like with what you're gonna be doing with plastics and the non-recyclables, is gonna help. So regarding the beach trash, we had a lot of the hanging baskets that are out on the beach had deteriorated and rotted. And we found a way to actually build our own in-house that are even better than what's out on the street and cost us less. So there's quite a few of them that you may see that don't look like the one you just passed. The guys did that over the last couple of weeks and put them together.
They're still the same size cans, right, Grant?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Did-
same
are-
can, but the wire structure that
Uh-huh.
holds the can,
Are we going to, you going to put any more out, or are we going to stick to the same amount that you had last year?
same amount, we don't have any extras. Everything we have is out on the street right now.
So you think the two collections are getting the job done?
I would hope so. We actually had to do a double collection Saturday night. I believe it was Saturday night, because there was too many people on the beach at 5 o'clock. So the guys came back around and did another sweep of the beach to make sure they got everything off the beach. So we're being conscious of the effort to try to keep everything
I know
off the beach.
I know I'm being a pain in the neck because I'm trying to think how we can do it better. The style of the can that's on the beach, which you can put a bunch of stuff in and then you stuff it in there, whether it's recycling in one of those illegal plastic bags. If that was a smaller style of top that they couldn't tie their bags with everything in it and jam it in there?
The green recycling can is only big enough to put a bottle in.
Right, but the blue, what's the blue?
That blue is
That's trash.
regular trash, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, the style of the top of that, if it was a different style that you couldn't, you know what people do, they have two cans, they have two sandwiches, they have two whatevers, they put it all in one bag, and that's what they do at the beach, is they stuff it in the can and they push it till it fits in there. If that was a different style, or is there a different style?
It'll end up on the beach, next to the can, which happens now.
Got to be in the back.
Yep. If they have to put more effort, they'll leave it
I'm on
off the
vacation.
side.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do without the plastic bags.
Right.
So,
Could be interesting.
I just don't know how you solve it and get from a third to a half.
Well, the,
mean, just
the decision would
think
be
out loud.
to
Yeah.
increase the amount of cans we have on the beach in order to maintain that. The size of the opening is not gonna matter. They'll pull the lid off and throw in the can until it's full.
We're also working for the homeowners at home. They're coming up with some kind of prototype grant of cans that they wish the homeowners would have.
Well, we would like them to use the 35 gallon cans that have the flip-off lid that a lot of municipalities are going to because they have automated systems, but we don't have that luxury. Being a tight community, we can't use that type of system here in town. But that type of can will help us with our rodent problem,
Right.
our cat problem in the wintertime, and skunks. You should see the size of that cat you gave me. He's that big. Anyway, and he beats up on the old girl that I have.
So the ones that, the ones that
Anyway.
Ace has them now, the big can.
They do
well,
have some, but
With,
it just seems that like a lot of
with-
the residents will buy the cheapest possible can they can find.
yeah, because don't tell me to buy
The
new
cans-
cans, because I just bought the ones you talked,
Yes.
and they're great. I
Yes.
mean, they're strong, they stand up, nothing's gonna lift that lid.
Right, and we have those cans that we would like them to use at Public Works, and I would like to bring them down and put them in the foyer next to the front door as a display.
Oh, I was gonna say, that won't look nice.
No, as a display. And then what we're
But you're
gonna.
right, if they see them,
For display only.
right, display only, it'll be full by lunchtime. No, but that's a
And then-
good idea,
And then when
because,
we have the August event at the ball field and any of the other events that we bring our materials for Go Green and recycling, we have a display that actually has a trash corral that those cans can fit in, which we would like these homeowners and these contractors to build on site on these properties to maintain those trash cans so that when it's wintertime and leave the cans out, the lids stay on and they don't blow down the street. So,
And you're gonna have that display
More
at the Green
education.
Fair too, right?
I'm sorry?
You're gonna do that display at the Green Fair.
Absolutely. Any chance we possibly can, we'll have it out.
It's a work in progress.
Yes. So one of my suggestions would be that we need to revisit what we use on the beach, because the size of the can is not big enough. The volume of materials that get left on the beach and are not taken back to the properties at the end of the day, because most of them are, if you look at the beach ends right now, everybody rides their bike to the beach now. So they're not gonna carry excess material back with them, so we may have to increase the volume that we accumulate on the beach to maintain it.
But you're limited on can size, aren't you, because of the weight? Isn't
We can, because
Contract?
there is an automated system that we can use that's actually a vehicle that drives down the beach and throws it in the back. Avalon actually uses that type of can right now. So, something we can discuss over the next couple of months. Can I-
You done?
Can I move on?
Usually
I got a
you
few
have,
more things.
I was gonna say, usually you have a lot more to say. Go ahead.
Okay. Buildings Department is now in their summer mode, which most of their time is spent on setting up and tearing down their special events. We have a sticker we put on their door leading into their shop that says Special Events Department and not Buildings. That would just kid around with them. A lot of their time is taken up by that. The Grounds Department is taking care of the urns and the baskets and the distressed plantings on some of our islands and borough properties. We're doing the best we can right now with this 90-degree weather. A lot of the islands are burning up, so we're trying to maintain them as well. Solid Waste Department is doing a 7-day-a-week pickup for commercial. Residential is twice a week. It's Monday through Saturday. There is no pickup on Sundays. And that's it for Public Works. So if you want to move, any other questions before we move on to water and sewer?
No, just always compliments to Public Works. It's the best in the county, maybe the state. They do an awful lot for our residents, an awful, if you look just by 1,200 phone calls that they answered and then corrected whatever situation had to be corrected.
Thank you.
And nothing more from anybody? Then we'll move on to utilities. Go.
Go. I really only have three things. We did have a compliance evaluation inspection report that Jill sent to me this afternoon. If you read through the report, for those of you who do get it, there is no violations. On the front page, it talks about our sodium issue. We've had that issue for the 32 years that I've been here, and that is because of some of these situations with the groundwater and the salt intrusion from the ocean moving in on our groundwater. So we're not, as long as we stay within the compliance, they want us to monitor it more often, which we do through our testing. Every week we have testing done throughout the summer. So that report will show that we have no violations. It's probably the first time in a while that we've had nothing to rectify as far as the state is concerned. The 80th Street well has been down for over 4 months. We are running on 3 wells right now. AC Schulte's just finished their replacement of the shaft, the well shaft, and they are purging the system right now. Hopefully it'll be up before the weekend, up and running before the weekend. There's some testing they have to do prior to putting that back online, and we will be up to 4 wells. Right now the system is being taxed because of the fact that that well is down, and we have 30,000 plus people in town. And on Friday, we received our new inspection camera for our sewer system. That will be installed into a trailer that will be here hopefully by next month, and we can start our inspections on our large diameter sewer mains so that we can make wiser decisions on what streets need to be renovated as far as sewer and storm sewer, as well as keeping records for the state on our inspections, so, which is required. That's all I got.
Thank you.
No questions?
Thanks, Fran.
Nope.
All right.
We got one item for discussion under utilities.
So this is the ordinance pertaining to shut-off. And I know we pulled it pending further discussion, so I guess this is further discussion.
There was a new ordinance prepared by Attorney Caravan, and it's not in here.
What we did was,
Which one do we have?
we prepared a modification to the existing ordinance, which would eliminate the 3 strikes in 1 year. So currently, our ordinance reads, if you have 3 strikes on your property, in other words, if the water's turned out 3 times over any period of time, you're fined these enhanced fines. With the modification, it would have to be within the course of a year, and then it resets. So at the end of the year, if you've only had 1 violation, the next year you do it, you're charged for a first violation. So if you accumulate within the course of 1 year 3, you get the major enhanced penalty, but if not, it resets at the end of the year, which gives your property owners a little bit of a break.
Which previously it didn't do, correct?
Right.
Okay.
It just reset. Did you get any numbers or statistics for us, Debbie? Okay.
From 2015 to 2018, there was a total of 272 leaks. 16 of them were multiple. In 2015, there were 2 residents who had 2 leaks in that 1 year. In 2016, there was also 1 resident who had multiple leaks. In 2017, there were none, and in 2018, there was one with multiple leaks. But total, it was 6%. It's 6% of multiple leaks from 2015 to 2018. There is not that many. It's not that many at all. Do you have my analysis, Jill?
Pardon me?
Do you have that analysis I gave you?
Not with me,
Okay.
no. I had emailed it to the
Yeah,
We all
if
got
you
them, and that's why I didn't bring it.
If
we all got
there
it.
was an owner that had more than 3 or more in,
We have not charged we have not charged that third tier yet,
okay.
no. And only 5 of them in those 3 years was charged a second,
The second,
yes.
I think the word
It's a
got
very
out
small
when we
percentage.
implemented this. I think we implemented it before 15, before 2015. And it was because of the multiple, and I think as the word got out and the plumbers also became aware, it stopped it.
So what's the suggestion, again?
So
right? I
Is-
think if council feels
If you get 3 in
necessary
1 year,
that
you pay it. If you get it that next year, you only start on the
Start over.
first
You go
again.
back over.
And I think
Is there
it's in any
reset?
calendar year.
Yeah, reset.
It's not, it's January 1 to January 1.
Right.
I think the way, I mean, we can certainly do that. The way it currently reads is within a 1-year period. So in other words, if you have your first one on May 1st and your next one on February 1st of the next year, you're still within that 1-year period. You can do it calendar year if you want. It's not a big tweak.
Well,
Well, if council would prefer that, we could do that.
yeah, I think you said it resets at the end of a calendar year,
Does it,
is what it says.
is that what's in there
That's
now?
That's what's in there now.
Okay, so then
Could
it's
do
on a
that.
calendar year basis.
Yeah.
But if it was on calendar year and they had one in March, and then they had another one, it'd be charged.
Yeah, in the calendar
Twice.
year.
If, in other words, anything you'd have in 2018 would be charged, anything you have in 2019.
Right.
That's more manageable
Yes,
you
I
get
think
from a
that's.
bookkeeping
Number-
standpoint.
Because then there's not a sliding scale standard. Yeah.
Everyone good with that?
That makes sense.
I like that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Deb. Okay, anything else?
I just need a clarification, because I think the ordinance that we pulled had other things in it, right? Didn't it not?
Yeah, I think it did.
I
But I
thought-
think,
I
I think
felt
we
like
were
I
all,
lost something there.
I think we
Yeah.
were all okay with the rest of it. It was
Right,
just
so that
We
one,
did.
Yeah, I-
right,
I
I got
think-
confused because this is a separate
part.
ordinance.
penalty.
So then we would either have to combine this language with that other one to bring it back, because the other one actually was introduced and we had the public hearing on it.
Yeah, the other one, done and is in effect, correct? That was a while ago.
No, it's not in effect.
It's not in effect?
No.
Tonight.
Yeah.
This ordinance
It's not on.
Combined the two, it's
Oh,
combined
that's
the
what I'm
one
saying.
about,
Existing code. The amendment is styled as an amendment
Well-
of our existing code.
I think you need to reintroduce it. I
Yeah.
think, you make sure that all the right
So if
changes
we-
are in it, 'cause-
Yeah, you're right, and I think that's cleaner, because it's not on for tonight at all. So if we, do you have, since it was introduced in a public hearing, do you have to vote it down?
well, he pulled it, Charles pulled it at the last meeting.
Yes, I know, but we had the public, we introduced it and we had the public hearing. So you have to do some type of action on it.
Oh.
Either amend it, hold a public hearing on the amendment, or vote it down and just reintroduce a new one,
Right.
whatever your
That's
pleasure.
cleaner.
I-
That's cleaner.
Okay, so you're gonna, the next meeting, you'll vote it down, and we'll have another ordinance that we're introducing.
Simultaneously,
Yes.
right? One after
Okay.
the
Yep.
other, right?
Okay,
Okay, got that, Sue?
that works.
Okay.
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 And we'll incorporate this language in the new ordinance. Correct? You don't have to have two separate ones, right?
Right.
Okay. To make sure I'm straight.
Anything else? Last chance. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
We're adjourned.